Hello everyone. I welcome all to you all on this public awareness programs conducted by Endocrine Society of India. I am Dr. Mona Dhingra, consultant endocrinologist at RNT Medical College, Udaipur, Rajasthan. So this month, as you all know, we are conducting awareness programs, public awareness programs on behalf of Endocrine Society of India regarding the pre-diabetes. As this month on 14th of August, we celebrated the pre-diabetes day. So every Saturday we are conducting the sessions regarding pre-diabetes. Already we have talked about what actually is pre-diabetes and what are the lifestyle modifications regarding pre-diabetes. For those viewers who have joined first time to us, I would like to just introduce to them what actually is pre-diabetes. It is a stage when your blood sugar levels are not too high to define it diabetes, but they are above normal. And as the prevalence of diabetes is increasing in India, I would say at a higher pace, the prevalence of pre-diabetes is increasing. And it is the right time to take steps to prevent its progression to diabetes. So it's important for all of us who are especially obese or who are suffering from metabolic syndrome or have been diagnosed by one or another time with high blood sugar defined as pre-diabetes to be aware what to do and how to proceed further. So in this session, we will discuss regarding the nutrition aspects. What type of diet, what actually dietary monitoring should be done in case of prediabetes. So on behalf of Endocrine Society, I would take this honor to introduce the speakers we have today with us. We have very renowned speakers from all over India with us. So I would like to introduce first Dr. Ameya Joshi. He is a consultant endocrinologist at Bhaktilal Vedanta Hospital and Research Institute, Mumbai. Welcome, sir. Second, we have with us renowned nutritionist Cheryl ma'am from Mumbai. She is a clinical nutritionist and certified diabetes educator. Welcome, ma'am. And along with the third one speaker is Dr. Ajitesh Roy from Kolkata. He is a associate professor, Department of Endocrinology with Vivekananda Institute of Medical Sciences, Kolkata. Welcome, sir. And along with us, we have Dr. Ashok. He is a consultant endocrinologist, SNGB Thyroid and Hormone Clinic, Hyderabad. I welcome you all, sir, on this platform.
Thank you so much.
So today, as I just mentioned, today is the day we will be discussing about pre-diabetes, the nutrition aspects. As we already discussed what is pre-diabetes, what are the lifestyle modifications we need to do in our previous two sessions. So I will try to keep my questions as simple as possible for the public people. And for the viewers, if you have any queries, you please free to put it in the chat box and we will try to solve those queries as much as possible. So I will start the session. My first question for Dr. Ameya, sir. So, sir, you have been dealing with these diabetic and pre-diabetic people throughout a lot of people. So, can you guide us and highlight the importance of nutritional therapy in diabetes, in pre-diabetes specifically?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mona, and hello to all my colleagues. I also express gratitude towards Endocrine Society of India for giving all of us this opportunity to be here, as well as considering pre-diabetes as a starting point for both awareness and treatment. Also, I must say that this is the time where life can be modified. Once somebody becomes diabetic, once he starts getting the complications, no matter what you do, life can only be palliated, cannot be rebooted or modified, whereas pre-diabetes exactly gives you that opportunity. The second thing is the importance of nutrition. And I think all of us endocrinologists love to share this story from a study called as Diabetes Prevention Program, where they gave a general information to one third of people, gave extensive supervised lifestyle modification to one third of people, and metformin, a medication that they thought could prevent progression from pre-diabetes to diabetes to one third of people. Now here I would like to add that 30 to 50% of those with pre-diabetes, as you correctly said, slightly high sugars, not high enough to be called as diabetes, will eventually become diabetic. So these group of people who were pre-diabetic, given all three options were followed up, and they realized that it was a lifestyle modification, that is right nutrition and right exercise, which if done meticulously reduced chances of developing diabetes by 58%, whereas a medication metformin reduced chances by only 31%. That's also good, but this one single example highlights the importance of lifestyle modification and nutrition. So what exactly can be done in pre-diabetes is, actually this is a group of people who should be identified and supervised and encouraged to be more health conscious than a broader population per se. This should be the target population to prevent further problems, and this is the importance of both lifestyle modification, subclassified as nutrition as well as exercise.
Rightly said, sir. And the bad thing is that pre-diabetic people don't have symptoms, so they don't come to us. So it's a big target to catch them up and then guide them. So sir has very beautifully explained us how important is nutritional therapy for pre-diabetics. My next question is for Dr. Ajitesh, sir. Sir, please explain the goals and targets while prescribing nutritional therapy for pre-diabetics. Ajitesh, sir.
Yeah. So at first, I would like to thank Endocrine Society of India for giving me this opportunity, and thanks Dr. Mona. Yes, already Dr. Amaya told about the pre-diabetes, why we should treat. But in a nutshell, we can say that if we treat pre-diabetic patient or if we isolate pre-diabetic patient, we can delay the progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes. And by that way, we can decrease the rate of microvascular complications and cardiovascular disease. For common people, I can say that diabetes is a disease which can manifest in various ways. Like they can present with heart attack, they can present with stroke. On the other hand, they can present with kidney failure, eye problem. There is a problem in the vision. So if we halt the progression from pre-diabetes to diabetes, then we can stop this process. So our main target will be to delay the process, and side by side, if we delay, we can decrease the cost of this treatment definitely. And this is in our society, in this socioeconomic background, particularly after COVID, we can say that it is actually impossible to continue or to buy too much of medicines. So if we control this simply with a lifestyle modification or with nutritional therapy, so nothing is better than that. So we can say that our main target to delay the progression from the pre-diabetes to diabetes.
Rightly said, sir. So moving forward, Cheryl ma'am, we would like to have your knowledge about the nutrition now. So if a pre-diabetic subject comes to you, so I know it will be very lengthy and individualized treatment, but still we would like to love to listen from you. What dietary advice is recommended for pre-diabetic subjects?
Thank you so much, Dr. Mona, for that question. And thank you so much, Endocrine Society of India, for doing this very important session on pre-diabetes. And like Dr. Amaya said, that usually people with pre-diabetes may not really go to an endocrinologist first because they do not have any symptoms. But we usually are the people who catch people with pre-diabetes, because at least in our clinic, we definitely do a baseline, at least for blood glucose levels, lipids, renal profile, etc. And that's when we see that their blood glucose levels are deranged, and usually they will be either obese or people with even those, we know that today, even if you look at the Indian population, you really need not be obese or have a very high BMI to have pre-diabetes. We have more body fat, especially visceral fat, which predisposes us to getting diabetes and all the other lifestyle diseases. So definitely, I think nutrition intervention is very key. And today we have enough evidence to show that lifestyle modification, focusing on nutrition, focusing on sleep, focusing on physical activity is key in preventing pre-diabetes to go into the diabetes stage. Because once they get into the diabetes stage, you can only control it. You cannot really reverse it. You can bring it into remission, yes, and there's now there is enough data. But if you look at when we take dietary recalls of most of our patients, we see that the amount of carbohydrates that they're eating, and we have again enough studies to show that we Indians love carbs. Whether it comes breakfast, our snacks, our dinners are very, very rich in carbs. And be it from any part of India, whether it's north, south, east, and west, because people usually think that only South India eats carbs because they eat more rice. But we have studies to show that you come from any part of India, including central India, the amount of carbs that we're eating is higher. What we're seeing is the quality of carbs, is the type of carbs you're eating, because we're eating more out of packets. Even the kind of cereals that we're eating, whether it's rice, whether it's our millets, they're all polished, and that is why the fiber content is going lower. Protein is definitely a nutrient of challenge in our population, so emphasizing the need to have adequate protein, because one is protein gives you satiety. Protein will also help to blunt the blood glucose levels, so protein becomes a very, very important nutrient, especially when it comes to diabetes and pre-diabetes. And then fat, I remember when I started my practice 20 years back, fat was considered to be the villain and carbohydrate was the superhero. And I think every decade you have a different superhero and a villain. Today we say that yes, you need to moderate the amount of carbs, because that directly impacts the blood glucose levels. And when we're looking at meeting the calorie requirements, we can give good quality fats coming from your nuts, from your seeds, etc. So one is we do a detailed dietary assessment, and we are seeing that the quality of nutrients, whether it's carbohydrates, whether it's proteins, whether it's fat, is a challenge. Quantity, yes, we have to reduce the amount of carbohydrates in the diet, especially at snack times, because in the evening is when people feel most hungry. And at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the most unhealthy snacking happens. Either it'll be a packet of biscuits or it'll be some farsan, namkeen, which is very rich in carbs as well as calories. So we have to look at, if the person is overweight or consuming extra calories, we have evidence to show that, controlling the calorie intake and also moderating the carb intake definitely helps in bringing the pre-diabetes stage into the normal stage. And I think this is the key. Catching the person at this stage becomes a very, very crucial, and I think that is why I always say that we nutritionists play the role of preventive diabetologists, because we help the person from getting into the diabetes stage. So that is what we would do in terms of nutrition. And I think sleep is often, not focused on. And I think today in our population, especially post-COVID or even during the COVID pandemic, we've seen that sleep has taken a big beating and people are sleeping at erratic hours. And as a result of which, midnight snacking is becoming again a very common phenomenon. So that's another thing that we address in our clinic.
So one query just came up in my mind, ma'am. Out of the West, I would like to ask you the question. People come to us and say they take mixed atta. कि हम मिक्स आटे की रोटी खाते हैं, so it's a common man statement, diabetic patient. So what is your take on this?
I think that's a very good question that you've asked, because especially where I am from Maharashtra, they will not have the chapati, but they will have a bhakri, and the bhakri is 3 or 4 times the size of a chapati, and they think just switching the atta, they're going to, their sugars are going to improve or they're going to lose weight. So again, very important is educating them that all cereals, no matter what you eat, have got the same amount of carbohydrates, have the same amount of calories. So therefore, whatever you eat, you still need to reduce the amount of carbohydrates. You definitely need to look at calorie restriction if the person is consuming excess calories. And that is why we look at the goals in terms of whether the person wants to lose weight, gain weight, etc. And look at the quality of nutrients. And fiber becomes a very important, nutrient today. And we know that fiber has a big, big role to play when it comes to weight management as well as diabetes or even cholesterol management. So yes, even if they're looking at the attas, in fact, cereal pulse combination works better. And we know that when we combine cereals and pulse, it becomes a good quality protein. So what we usually tell people is if you're doing your atta, with it, whether it's a wheat flour, then you can add some sattu atta to it, which is your roasted chickpea flour. So that way you're getting the protein. So you're also moderating the carbs. You're also improving the glycemic index. You're lowering the sugar raising property of the food. And moderation is key, whether you eat healthy. So, a lot of people think I'll eat a healthy diet chuda and I can eat an entire packet and it's not going to cause any problems. So I think that's another myth and misconception that most people have.
So I will clear many more misconceptions in the coming questions. So my next question is for Dr. Ashok sir. Sir, do we have enough evidence to show that role of this nutritional therapy helps in preventing progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes? Because a person may come a pre-diabetic subject, Okay, he may ask you, give me surety that I will enter in remission or my pre-diabetes will never progress to diabetes. So, do we have that confidence to our patient? Can we give that confidence to that patient?
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to convey my sincere thanks to Endocrine Society of India and Endocrine Awareness Program team, and also other organizing team who are behind the screen. And it is happy to share the session along with allied people. Uh, Definitely, there is a good amount and ample amount of data suggesting that nutritional therapy, right, nutritional advice definitely is going to cut down the progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes. As Dr. Amey sir has mentioned clearly, one of the well-known diabetes prevention program, not only that, dying study and Finnish diabetes prevention study and several other. So ultimately, the main motto is one thing. One is cutting down the excess weight by means of reducing the daily calorie intake, and making the individual at least moderately active, means at least 150 minutes of exercise per week, and achieving the weight loss of bare minimum of 7%, and maintaining the weight loss altogether. So definitely is going to cut down the progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes. It is saying like this, as Sarah has mentioned, like 7% body weight is going to cut down the 58% of reduction of pre-diabetic to diabetic. It is the number of pre-diabetic stage in our population. It is near to the diabetic population only. The sad truth is that the diabetes people also, half of them are not aware that they are having diabetes. So there is a big number beneath the tip. So unless we educate them to have the good amount of knowledge on diet and exercise, which are the simple tools and very effective tools in reducing the progression, we can't succeed in getting the treatment. So each kg is going to cut down the 7%. So we can tell our patient not only the number, but also your weight and how much active you are during the day. So let us say, suppose 170 centimeters person is weighing around 79 or 80. So your ideal weight is 70. Your sugars looking like normal probably today or pre-diabetic today, but you are likely to jump into the diabetic stage or pre-diabetic stage. So better to be cautious on maintaining the ideal weight. So this is very well and proven in several studies. So diet is right diet definitely is going to cut down the occurrence or progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes.
Rightly said, sir. So, my next question is to Dr. Ameya, sir. We as endocrinologists know that it's very difficult for Indian to treat Indian diabetic population. So, why it is said so? What basic difference do you find in Indian diet or Indian people from the Western people in terms of their glycemic management, sir?
I must say, it's not difficult to treat Indian diabetic patients. It's difficult to treat diabetic patients across the globe, especially if you sit in an OPD in maybe I must say city of Mumbai, and sometime I had been to the Leuven. So it's difficult and tough alike. The human behavior remains the same. Human genetic makeup more or less remains the same, but what is diverse is the surrounding, and that's the difference in between Indians and the Caucasians, because they are essentially uh, predominant composition of the diet is driven by proteins, whereas we have predominant composition driven by carbohydrates. So if you look at even the sugar levels of our people, and maybe if you look at the glucose levels of somebody who is having a Western diet, you will find that they are more concerned about fasting, and we are more concerned about the post meals. Pre-diabetes also, we see the post meal sugar first goes high, and that's because we are a country which is grain centric, carb centric. That is the main part of the meal, and that's how the recommendation difference starts. And then the second principle is that though our final destination is same, prevention of diabetes, the way is different, and that's how we need to counsel our people differently. Our people need to have little different approach. If you say that okay, don't have rice, don't have roti from tomorrow, this is the dinner, the person definitely on third or fourth day will try all sorts of Google second opinions and even land up with some quack. So it's important that we consider what the person says, what his diet recall is. I think I admire Cheryl Madam as a very good dietitian, and we're privileged to have her accessible. That always look at what the patient is doing. You have a story that is ideal in your mind, and then start the way from what is there currently to what your final destination is. So, first visit, what is clear is that change the carbohydrate to something that is more sort of lente carb, or change the type of carbohydrate, change the grain that you use. At the same time, don't go in a way that you increase the quantity of that grain. So both are important, the quality as well as the quantity. And also, I mean, I work in Mumbai where timings of meals, first meal can be at 7 o'clock, last meal can be at 12 o'clock. So you have to individualize things. The main Indian centric things are encourage them to be active for an hour, encourage to reduce the carbohydrates or at least change the carbohydrate as step one. Step two, reduce the carbohydrate a bit and substitute it by fiber. And then step three is make sure that proteins are optimum and carbs are further cut down. I'll tell you a simple story. After a lot of diet charts, somebody who was, say, 50 years of diabetes, he was a 85-year-old gentleman. At the end of my consultation, he asks me what to eat. I folded my hands. I told him, you have been diabetic for 50 years. I am practicing since 12, 13 or 14 years. You still have this question and you expect me to answer. He told me, sir, what all advices are there, what internet tells is very complicated. You tell me this is my diet, this is what it is. You're a South Indian fellow. I told him, look, one katori rice, one katori dal, one katori sabji, one katori salad, and one katori dahi, and then you start your next katori when you finish all those. So a practical advice where you sensitize the person. I understood one thing, that this is dangerous, this is relatively less. So the food pyramid is the Indian food pyramid, and that's how we come to that Indian food pyramid. Maybe for the sake of our viewers, we will post it on our website end of it. So this is the difference between Caucasian and Indian.
Yes, sir, rightly said. So, Cheryl ma'am, another question for you. So nowadays, as you see, people once you say them that you are obese, the next step they take is to move to gym. So this is very common, I think. And then there another person is guiding them for diet and all that thing. Some supplements are also given there. So we, as an endocrinologist, also are not having much knowledge about all that thing. I think you can guide us. What actually your take on these dietary supplements? They have been advised by gym trainers there. So is this right for that, for weight loss, for especially in pre-diabetic consent?
Thank you so much, Dr. Mona, for that very important question, because I think the first time people go to the gym, they're very enthusiastic and they're ready to do everything. In fact, they would have bought new gym clothes and everything, spent a lot of money, and they don't even know if they're going to go after 2-3 days to the gym. So that is what happens usually with most people. And the first thing is when they go to the trainer is going to tell them that start taking this protein supplement, you need it. They're not even started doing the basics. So again, I always, and like Dr. Amaya said, I think we have, especially when it comes to nutrition, I think everybody who eats food talks about nutrition. They may not practice it, but they will talk. And you have this self-proclaimed experts, and we are having a lot of people who are there, who are influencers, and people usually believe them, because they talk what they want to hear, I feel. And that is where, and we are so pressed for time because we honestly have so many patients that we are not able to really do the videos and do so much of outreach, which I think we're doing now. I think that is where, somewhere there's a challenge, and people often believe these people, because of what they say. So again, when it comes to the gym trainers, the first thing they will say is that start taking protein, and the person will go buy these really expensive whey supplements where, again, it is a very need-based thing. I think it's a very individualized approach, and it has to be done very scientifically, because when we see a person, we definitely will look at the baseline parameters. We do the baseline the kidney profile, the liver profile, the blood glucose levels, and everything else to see. Then we take a detailed diet recall to understand that is there a gap? What is the person consuming? Can I meet the diet with natural, real foods? And then if there is a gap, there could be a gap and the person is not able to meet that gap in terms of protein, then comes the role of a protein supplement. We don't just jump to protein supplements or any other supplements on the day one. I think that's being very hasty, and we all know that there is an added incentive to the trainers when they are recommending these supplements. It's a very need based, a very individualized, and it's not a one size fits all approach. So definitely we have to look at, and that is what, and again, like Dr. Amaya said, I think it's very important to keep it simple, affordable, and sustainable. Anything which is not simple, very complicated, is not something that we can sustain for a long. And again, usually they think that going to a dietitian means बहुत खर्चा होता है. They start giving us or recommending foods. But honestly, if you go to a good qualified dietitian, I think we tell them to buy or eat home cooked food. And I think the major problem would be solved if we just stuck to eating home cooked food. Today, you have so many of these e-commerce websites that become so easy to order. So that is the reason you actually end up eating a lot of calories and a lot of unhealthy food as well. So, I mean, to answer your question, I think it's very, very individualized. Not every person who goes to the gym needs to start on any supplement. Whether it is started at a gym or even today, you have people starting you on certain products when you're at a jogger's park, because that's an easier catch. So they will just go check your weight and start you on certain supplements, which you really don't know how that is going to affect your body. So I would tell people, be cautious. Always go and check with a qualified dietitian whether you really need it, and then start with it. Because trainers usually, if you know that they're not even 10 standard pass, most of them do not even understand. They've not done their basic education, and I think they are not qualified to prescribe nutrition.
Rightly said, ma'am. That is a big question for us also. We are also not the right person to advise them for all those whey protein and all that things. So, Ajitesh sir, my next question for you. Actually, this is a quite tricky question divided from various places. I would like highlight first my place. The people here have two meal pattern. They take in the morning and take in the evening. I think in every part of our India, different meal pattern is there. So is actually this meal patterns difference make any difference in terms of weight loss and preventing the progression of prediabetes further to diabetes? Ajitesh sir.
Yeah. So actually, initially, maybe 10 to 15 years back, there was a concept that if we increase food intake frequency, they may decrease some amount of fat in our body. But after that, there are many studies, many analyses was done. Ultimately, we came to know that it is actually not a factor at all. Usually, a person belongs to a particular region. He or she is actually used to some amount of food and a particular frequency. So probably it would be a good idea if we took 2 major meals, 2 snacks, or maybe 3 snacks. That is sufficient. It is not that you have to take 8 meals or 9 meals, small meals. That is actually not a factor at all. So just take healthy food, as already discussed multiple occasions, low carb, maybe high protein, low fat to some extent, and definitely avoid of trans fat, and take 2 major meals and 2 small snacks. Maybe particular in few situations, like in case of pregnancy, you have to increase the frequency of food, particularly in renal failure or chronic liver disease. There is a chance of hypoglycemia. So in that case, a patient who is on drugs, patient may increase the frequency. Otherwise, in a normal person, he can continue the same frequency as he was previously, but definitely he should take some amount of food, not give some extra gap between 2 major meals, because in that case, after that, patient will be hungry, and patient used to take extra amount of carbohydrate and fat definitely. So in this way, there may be increased chance of body weight gain. But otherwise, to me, and it is my conception that you should not go for frequent meal on regular basis, except in one or two occasions. Just take two major meals and two snacks, that is breakfast, lunch, evening snack, and dinner. That is sufficient.
Dr. Mona, you're on mute.
Yeah, rightly said, sir. The main thing, the message is that you need not to be fasting for a long time, more than 6 to 8 hours, as in this stage, especially when you are in a pre-diabetic or a diabetic range. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Ashok, sir, nowadays many varieties of diets, people are aware of all of them through Google or whatever, I would say. So, just enlighten us. What is your take on these dietary interventions like keto diet, low calorie diet, very low calorie diet, and intermittent fasting? I know it will take a whole session to understand these diets, but just a message you would like to give to the people regarding these diets.
As Amir sir was mentioning, the fundamental rule is whether the particular prescribed dietary program is inert to that individual or not. That is most important. Why? Because in India especially, we see diverse culture kind of individuals and what exactly he wants and what he likes to take. So from that, from their perspective, the recall method, what exactly they are liking and what the modification we can do to meet the all three macronutrients and as well as micronutrients in a moderation. Are we reaching up to the mark or not? These things like keto or intermittent fasting or low calorie, very low calorie dietary approach, it might give the results in a short period, but if the person is not really willing to adhere to that particular diet, it is not going to last for long. So our basic purpose is how the individual is willing to take the what kind of foods he likes more, and what the blend we can do in a way to address the major three macronutrients as well as good amount of fiber intake in a such a way to reach the daily nutritional requirement. So that way, not changing the all the concept, all the things at a stretch. So changing the bit by bit, so visit to visit, then the other ends part probably it might be becomes much more better. And not only the individual, the person who is really making the food at home, like mother or wife or some other person, they also need to understand what exactly we are conveying. Sometimes we will teach them, but this person might go and tell over there or not. It might exactly we don't know. So if we make the family, other family members who is really concerned with the dietary food preparation, and the people who are sitting at the table, like even the person having intention to reduce or cut down the meal, but other people's support also is really required. So rather than particular kind of fancy method, the native method we can adjust in a such a way to meet the three macronutrients and good amount of fiber, and keeping in the mind that the person is overweight or obese, around 600 to 800 calories deficit, at least 300 to 400 deficit should come from the diet itself. Then only it is going to maintain in a sustainable way and successful way to arrest the progression of pre-diabetes to diabetes. So this is my perspective.
Rightly said. So the message I would like to put from this diets: please don't try these keto diets on your own by Googling it. Take consultation of a nutritionist or endocrinologist or a clinician, but please don't start them on your own with the Google knowledge. They are very dangerous if it is done on your partial knowledge.
That's true.
So, Dr. Amir, sir, nowadays, as we are seeing, the prevalence of diabetes is increasing in a younger population. In the Western, also in an Indian cohort, many young people are coming to us with diabetes. And talking about the children, no wonder we are getting many children of a very young age, like 10 years, 11 years, coming up with diabetes. So, and sometimes they come by chance as obesity, and we diagnose them with pre-diabetes. So that is really, as children's matter is a very sensitive matter for parents. So it's really a very tricky situation to counsel the parents for the diet of children. And second part of my question is that Nowadays, the culture of schools has also changed a lot. The children are getting very good, easy canteen facilities available where all the snacks, on the one hand, which are to be avoided, are easily available for the schools. The physical activities, sports activities have been cut down. So, both the parts, I would like you to highlight it how we can change the things.
Yeah. Thank you for the, I think, very, very well crafted question. Let us start one by one. And the first thing that the parents, as you indirectly were trying to indicate, they find it difficult to understand that the child is obese or pre-diabetic. I mean, parents have asked me a proof when some father comes with diabetes and you point out that, okay, you also need to encourage your child to exercise. He said, I mean, many times the answer is, मैं नहीं खा सकता इसको तो खिलाओ. And that time you have to tell him or her or sensitize the family or sometimes even the child who comes that, okay, this and this is wrong. And the proof of that is that you need to have a growth chart for the child. So all those parents who are listening to this broadcast or maybe school teachers, I must say, give every child a growth chart. That's the next movement that we should undertake. That every child should have his growth chart. Growth chart clearly tells the weight is more than what is permissible for the height. And then there is an acceptance of the fact. So A stands for agreement and acceptance. The second is B, and that stands for behavior modification. I quoted an example, but there was a very interesting study which looked at counseling the children. So children were given an advice, okay, you follow diet, you follow exercise, you do that. And the parents also kept on telling the children that you have to do this, you have to do that. And in the second study, the children were not told anything. It was the parents who were told that, okay, you start exercising, you make a healthy food at home, you start eating alike. And then they observed that the children were observed that who lost weight more. And to everybody's astonishment, when the parents followed a dietary pattern, when the parents followed the exercise regularly, the child automatically showed the behavioral change. And then they lost weight more than when the children were only counseled. So, all those parents who think that, okay, I am working for my child, you should also work out for your child. I am earning for my child, but I should also be healthy for my child. When these sentiments will come, then only the children will change. The third is culture and civilization, and there comes the role of surroundings and schools. Because you can't stop a child from knowing that there is a canteen in the school. You can't stop a child from knowing that there is a Zomato app because he uses the same mobile phone which is a Zomato app too. And there comes the role of social sort of responsibility. If the teacher encourages that, okay, you have not got your tiffin, go and eat from the canteen. The mother also finds it very comfortable. Kal canteen se kuch kha lena. But when the teacher asks the child that why have you not got your tiffin, the child also feels that, okay, I am asked because the syllabus is full of all these things, healthy food, junk food. I am a parent of twins, and I think all of you have children. We face in day in and day out. But when they know what is good, what is bad. But when the teacher asks that why your mother has not given you the tiffin, they have a menu, but children insist, no, I want a pizza in the tiffin. So when the teacher will ask that why this is not done, the child automatically realizes this is good, this is bad. One thing which Endocrine Society should try and which South African government has done effectively is to put a taxation of label of tax on all junk food. We can do that, that will be great. Thirdly, the reward system automatically comes that, okay, this is what is good. I can order food on Zomato. I have so much money there. My father will give me the password, so on and so forth. The reward obviously comes with food, but with that also, if some degree of, I can say, not exactly punishment, but a sense that is put in the child that, okay, you have done this, so you cannot order for next 15 days. You have to exercise for next 15 days. So that's part of habit cultivation. I mean, it's a very crude and bad question, And I mean, one of my senior colleagues just told me, and he showed it in an example that why do you or how do you prevent your child from smoking or alcohol when he's 10, 12, or 15 years of age? That's by not doing that in front of your child. That's by hammering on the child that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. If the child has very clear consciousness that अगर ये किया तो सब जगह पड़ेगी, when the same thing comes about junk food and healthy food, automatically we as a civilization will grow, and for that doctors are not enough. It has to be a change that comes from the society as a whole, and that's how the need for these webinars.
Beautifully said. Well explained. I think what basic thing is that children can't be stopped to eat, but the thing that is positive is that they can burn the calories. They can run here and there. So this is a basic thing we can guide them, that at least at home products, whatever they are taking, they should burn the calories rather than sitting in front of the couch or in the front of the screen. So this is the main message to all the people, all the viewers there. So my next question is to Ajitesh sir. Sir, does medical nutritional therapy for pre-diabetes has any other benefit besides preventing progression to diabetes?
Yes.
Any other?
So before going to the topic, just I want to mention one or two extra point to Dr. Ameya, that one parent can, it is our clinical experience that a patient who has been suffering from diabetes or going to be diabetic, they have some stigma of diabetes. Like in a common word, we can say that, and that there can be, we can notice acanthosis. That means a black spot in the neck. And suppose parents told the son or the daughter that देखो बेटा ये हमारा यहाँ पर एक there is a mark black pigmentation, and doctor told me that this is a stigma of insulin resistance, and persons who had this will be prone to diabetes. And I am noticing that you develop this type of pigmentation, and it is our common clinical experience that the obese child, they usually present with acanthosis. And so if we compare it, then they can understand that yes, my father or my mother has been suffering from diabetes with this stigma. And so it is most likelihood that we are going to be diabetic. So these are the example we can lead the particular children that you have to see this type of stigma. So you have to go for proper lifestyle modification from the very beginning. And second one is the not only parents, the grandmothers and grandfathers, they are actually very notorious to the particular children. It is not in a bad sense, but what happened, they actually emphasize to take extra amount of food. Cyril may admit this. Sometimes we do see from our clinical experience that after taking some amount of and moderate amount of food, again grandfather or grandmother, they actually push to eat something. No, बेटा तुम्हारा तुम कुछ नहीं लिया है और थोड़ा ले लो और थोड़ा मंडा ले लो. So this is not a good idea. So we have to listen not only to the parents, also to the teachers and also to the grandparents, and it is their also social responsibility to maintain this. Now I am coming to my question. Yes, if we follow proper lifestyle modification, definitely it not only delay the progression of prediabetes to diabetes, it has some other actions too. And these are the very marvelous actions. One is we can decrease the rate of hypertension, that means blood pressure. We can decrease cardiovascular morbidity, that means patient who is maintaining proper lifestyle, there will be less chance of stroke, there will be less chance of heart attack. So these are the most important point. There will be less cholesterol in your blood, and there will be low BP, but that means there will be chance of getting high BP is low. And one important point here is that if you increase your fiber content in your food, there will be less chance of cancer. And it is already established that colorectal carcinoma Esophageal carcinoma, that means esophagus means the portion above the stomach. For the common people, I can say that the chance of carcinoma will be much less. So if we increase the content of fiber, if we take healthy diet, so there will be lots of good action. And also in this regard, we can say that alcohol, we know that moderate amount of alcohol may not do any harm, but this is not the actual scenario. May not do harm in regards to lipid, maybe in regards to diabetes, but it actually in long run it increases the chance of carcinoma. This is the new understanding. So if we decrease alcohol intake, if we definitely cut down our smoking, and if we take extra amount of fiber in the form of vegetable and fruits, and if we take less amount of trans fat, so I think we will be very much happy. There will be less cost for the in future. Cost will be much less for the treatment purpose.
Rightly said. So for viewers, it's a real eye opener that by controlling your sugars, you are getting so many benefits, not only in perspective of preventing progression to diabetes, but cardiovascular, lipid profile, hypertension. All these parameters can be kept at a bay. So my next question to Cheryl ma'am. This is festival seasons coming up, so everybody, including the diabetic and pre-diabetics, want to have the sweets. So the question is, or in other words, what are the recommendations regarding use of artificial sweeteners for pre-diabetics or diabetics? And my second part of the question is, what to see when we are taking a product from the market in the food labels in perspects of diabetes or pre-diabetes?
Thank you, Dr. Mona. Again, a very relevant question because I think the festival season is round the corner now, come August end. And usually you'll see, even if you want to go to somebody's house and you know that person has got diabetes, you carry the sugar-free mithais with you and you go, and or the sugar-free chocolates. And, people forget that sugar-free does not mean calorie-free or carb-free. When we're coming to the sweeteners, again, within recommended amounts, there is something called an acceptable daily intake, which is recommended. Within the recommended amounts, it is safe to consume. Anything in excess is obviously not going to be safe. So in moderation, it is fine to consume. But when it comes to these sweets, which are, they claim to be sugar-free sweets, we have to remember that they're not calorie-free, they're not carb-free. It will definitely, and sometimes they're loaded with fat, especially a lot of unhealthy fat. And therefore, that will also derange your lipid profile. It will still cause weight gain, which will again go back and derange your blood glucose levels. So therefore, consuming them in moderation is key. I always tell my people, eat the real thing, eat less. Because the moment you hear the word diet or sugar-free, you end up eating double the amount. So eat when you're more active. Control, portion control is very, very important. Eat just a small piece for taste. Eat when you're more active. And that should be good. You cannot eat it by the kilo just because it claims to be healthy. Or, there is a difference between need and greed. So you should know where to stop. I think that is most important for people. And today, whatever you have in terms of your packaged foods, a lot of them claim, the front of the packet will claim for it to be, an oats biscuit or a high fiber biscuit or a multigrain biscuit. But if you actually go back, we always educate and empower our patients to read the food label, read the ingredients. So in the ingredients, if it's mentioned refined flour or if it just mentioned flour, it means that it is maida or refined wheat flour, which is obviously not good for it. So look for, the ingredients, look for the sugar content. Sometimes an oats biscuit, which claims to be healthy, if you look at the amount of oats in the biscuit, there is not more than 6 to 12% of oats. So it does not, make this biscuit a healthier choice. And people end up eating an entire packet, especially in the evening, during the snack time, thinking it's healthy. So read the food label, look at the nutritional label to look for the calories, the carbs per serving, because the packet could have 3 servings. So it'll always mention per serving, and then look at how much is it per serving. And, look for the protein. We always say that, your evening snack should be higher in protein. And, we always tell people whatever is easily, like, a simple roasted chana peanut combination is great as a snack because it's a good combination of one is protein, complex carbs, fiber, as well as healthy fat. So it gives you good satiety and it also keeps your blood glucose levels, in the range. So do not go and fall prey to all these claims which are there in terms of healthy foods, because they may not really be healthy. So read the ingredients, because if you look at most of them, there is sugar hidden in some other form. And look for added sugars, because that is another very important change that is made by the regulatory bodies post 2018. Because otherwise, they would add other, and people think honey or jaggery is safe to consume. So I don't have sugar, but I can have honey, jaggery, or anything else like brown sugar, and that is not going to cause my sugars to go high. So remember, whether it's honey, sugar, dates, or your brown sugar, all of them is having the same amount of carbohydrates and calories as your sugar. So therefore, it has to be consumed in moderation. So if you do not know how to read the food label, please reach out to the doctor or the dietitian in your locality, and she will definitely help you on how to read food labels. So maybe we can do a session again on the Endocrine Society of India and post it on our website, on how to read food labels. I think that will be a very useful resource for most of our consumers out there, because the food industry is really booming, and we know that diet, anything which says diet, is in. Like in COVID times, immunity, we got even immunity khakras, and people went and bought it because it claimed to give immunity. So I think that's how like we're always looking for stuff. We're not looking at what is in our kitchen and what is really healthy, and I think that is something that we need to educate people about.
Rightly said, ma'am. The most important point is the biscuit. Every day, I think all of the endocrinologists will agree with me. Every person come to us say, I take only oats biscuit with the chai in the evening, and we can't say anything. He says, no, they are of oats only. There is no maida, nothing. So it's very difficult to counsel our patients in our day-to-day practice. And what
In fact,
would
also, one step forward, we've even started educating our children today. That you go to the supermarket with your parents, start, I think, getting them involved from a very early age. Sometimes when we're addressing schools, we receive calls from the parents. Are you told my child not to eat this, and my child is now, because I think children, like Dr. Amaya said, they're very, very ready to change. I think it is the parents and the grandparents who play a very key role. And like we always tell them, that they will not follow your advice, they will follow your footsteps. It's very important for you to implement it, educate and empower your children so that they can be healthier when they are adults. I think they have a big, big role to play.
And one good important point is about the palm oil. So every item, if you go in the market and see, it is having the palm oil. In India, every product. So I have also made my daughter to read. So now she also knows that no, mommy, this is having a palm oil. So how bad is
not only the biscuits. In fact, I had one child who actually makes this, especially if I'm from Maharashtra, Mumbai, and Gujaratis, the popular items, the snack items like khandvi, dhokla, the muthia, etc., which is very popular and sold in most shops. And we think that it's healthy because it's dhokla or khandvi. And this parent was telling me that to make all this, we use only palm oil because it is affordable. It has no taste. It does not have any particular kind of this. So, it's more acceptable. So everything that is there in the market, even your loose items, are made with palm oil. So that's another thing that we have to sensitize our public.
Really, it's arm opener. The chocolates the children are having, that is having palm oil. Nothing, no product without palm oil. So it's arm. It's I will highlight here in this public platform that please start practicing seeing the food labels. What is there in the food item you are buying for them yourself. So my now last question to Dr. Ashok, as we are ending this session. So what is your take on that? If we are making efforts for pre-diabetic subjects on diet and lifestyle, so would it will help him to end in a remission, or is there something called reversal for pre-diabetes? So similar question is there also. I can see in the chat box. I would read it for you from Mohammad Munir. He's giving. He also he has highlighted a study, Prop ABC, so where the intervention was done and it showed that it could, the changes or lifestyle changes can stop to progress type 2 diabetes, but can't reverse their pre-diabetes. So can you, sir, comment on it? So the question is almost same. What is your take on this? So.
Yeah, once the extra weight is lost, means definitely there is a chance of getting reversal. Not only the pre-diabetes, the diabetes also. Suppose in an extra weight individual, the reversal chances are proportional to how much weight you are losing. One of the well-known study called direct study, it just showed that if you can lose around 15% of the weight which you are having extra, the chances of reversal is 80%. If you are losing around 10 kg, the chances of reversal around 60%. So the same way, the prediabetes also, the majority of the people are overweight or obese. Definitely, if they can lose the extra weight, and if they can achieve to ideal weight by means of reducing their calories, by means of doing their regular physical activity and increasing the fiber intake and moderating the all three macronutrients like carbohydrates, taking the complex carbohydrate, and limiting the extra fat intake and moderating the protein intake and optimizing the protein intake, definitely this will cut down. There is no any kind of doubt behind that. So once you are losing, unless you are not losing the extra weight and you are not streamlining the efforts, it is not like a 1 day 2 day program. It's consistent efforts across the week and throughout the month. So I have done for 3 days or 4 days a week, and I want to cheat on 1 or 2 days, then all things are gone. Like it is like not putting the amount for 4 5 days, and all collection amount I'm keeping on 1 day. That also at the end of the month, the balance is same. So putting the efforts consistently from the dietary perspective as well as exercise perspective, consistently across the week and throughout the month, and if you are sustaining like this for a couple of months, another 3 to 4 months, definitely they are going to witness the change. There is no doubt in that.
Rightly said. So before ending this session and summarizing it from all your experts' view, one question is there from Dr. Aditi. Dr. Amir sir, I would like you to answer this question. She has asked that is there some lifestyle management that's supposed to be given importance to reduce fasting sugar? She further says that even after losing 7% weight and having BMI under 23, HbA1c less than 7, PPs and RBS are well controlled, but I have seen the fasting sugar seems to be taking time and hard to bring under control. So she wants to know your experience and any more advice regarding fasting sugars control.
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant question, and I must say that it's very difficult to achieve a normal fasting sugar, especially in few whose body doesn't let it reduce. So let us, for a moment, look at what increases your fasting sugar, and it is your glucose coming from your liver. It's different for somebody who is having a 12 o'clock midnight meal, which happens in Mumbai, ki have a heavy meal at night and then check your fasting sugar. That's jokes apart. But then in a typical person, it's the glucose from the liver that is going to raise your fasting sugar. So two things that could be done to reduce your fasting sugar is, one, make sure that you have an relatively early dinner. A dinner before 7 o'clock will definitely, not immediately, but over 3 to 6 months, reduce your hepatic glucose output slowly. Second is, if you exercise regularly, that increases a tone of a nerve called as vagus, and that increased vagal tone will help reduce glucose coming out of the liver. Trying to simplify it as much as you can, I can. And the third thing is, try to screen if your sleep is sound, you are not suffering from a sleep disturbance or a sleep apnea. I think these three common things you can sort out to get your fasting sugar in place. There is also a comment, I'm sorry to just barge on, but from Mr. Munir about a study called as Prop ABC, which actually looked at pre-diabetics. The critique of the study is that the study had a very small number of patients. Pre-diabetes is a huge problem. There were only 158 patients. But it did not say that glycemia cannot be reduced. In fact, it said that 40% of the people can reverse their pre-diabetic state, and those who caught their pre-diabetes early, so within first 5 years of being pre-diabetic, if you do the lifestyle modification, so that is the importance of identifying early, reversing it early. So if you are early diagnosed pre-diabetic, you have better chances of reversal. The second thing that helped was having a meal replacement, and that is the importance ki ye kha lo, but measurement is what meal replacement adds, and that has been seen in almost all the studies. So Prop ABC was actually a positive result. even though in a small number of people, like 93% didn't progress to become diabetic, and 40% reduced their chances of even becoming pre-diabetes. So it was a reversal of pre-diabetes. So these are the two thoughts.
Thank you a lot. So at the end, one last question from queries as coming from Cheryl ma'am. Your take on gut immunity and food fats. So can you guide us for these two things? These
I think
gut.
gut health is most important. I think today we all know the importance of gut health in
We are
you know,
getting fancy things in the market to improve that gut immunity.
I
So
think
your
अपना जो regular घर का खाना है, eat real food. I think the consumption of high refined food, sugar, lot of tea and coffee, your alcohol, etc. Your sleep timings, your stress levels, all that impacts gut health. So one is look at that, look at what you're eating, and I always tell my patients, eat more what is grown on plants rather than what is manufactured in plants. I think this is something which is very, very important because when we look at recalls, especially of our children, from morning to evening, they're just eating out of packets. So that is so, we have a lot of traditional foods. For example, when I look at East India and I'm consulting somebody from East India, I talk about panta bhat. And, they are very surprised when I tell them that that is a very, very good thing to include in your diet. And they feel so happy, that is something. So there are a lot of our traditional foods, especially, or even yogurt, for example, is a good probiotic. Also very important is to have good amount of prebiotics in the diet, whether it is your onions, whether it is garlic. You have certain kinds of foods which are good prebiotics, which the microorganisms grow and thrive. So that is something that is important. You don't really need to have very expensive again the same thing. They know that there is a market for this today. Gut health has become another big thing, and you have a lot of products which are coming in. So again, reach out, and there are foods which are there which you can have, which will help to improve your gut health. There are so many fads which are there in the, in people's minds, and what is, I think that is another thing. Please, I would say keep it as simple as possible. Whenever a person comes to me, look, I think it's very important to stick to what you've been eating from childhood, because anything that you do for a short term basis is not sustainable. And then we will see again a relapse of, the remission. Like person will improve the blood glucose levels, but if he can't sustain it, he will again go back into the pre-diabetes stage or even the diabetes stage. So do what is sustainable. I always tell them, do what you can do till the end. If you can't do it till the last day of your life, then don't do it, because anything which is short term is not sustainable. And I think very simple thing is, take a plate. I think our Indian thali, and today we're all talking about a healthy food plate. So take a small plate, 9-inch plate, fill half your plate with vegetables, and potato is not a vegetable. A lot of people, when we ask them what to eat, roti sabzi, and they'll say, sabzi kya tha? Aloo ki sabzi. So potato is coming in your starchy foods, which is in the carbohydrate group. So the moment you fill half your plate with vegetables, maybe 1/4 with salad, 1/4 with your, cooked vegetables, and then 1/4 of your plate, put something which is protein, like dals, or you can have your curd, yogurt, paneer, or if you're a non-vegetarian, it could be egg, fish, or chicken. And then 1/4 of your plate should be your carbohydrate, which is all your cereals, your millets, your starchy vegetables such as suran, or yam, or arbi, or fried potato. So that should comprise only 1/4. So just doing this will actually help to moderate the carbs, improve the quality of protein, the quantity of protein, as well as improve the amount of fiber in the diet. I think this is simple and something which is, otherwise the woman of the house is whole day in the kitchen cooking separately. She has to cook for the husband, she has to cook for the children, she has to cook for the in-laws. And if she is the patient, she can never follow it, because she's so tired doing for everybody else that she cannot follow it for herself. And typically we see when the men come to us as patients, the wife automatically, her health improves, because she starts eating what the husband is eating or what the child is eating. So, that's a bonus point actually. So it works well. And the order in which you're eating. So instead of first putting the morsel of rice or chapati in your mouth, you first start with a, morsel of, first take the salad, eat a little bit of the salad or the vegetable, and then follow it with the protein. So have paneer or chicken or egg or fish or, curd, whatever is there, and then eat the remaining food. So just changing the order in which you're eating will also help to keep you, one is improve satiety, make you feel full faster, as well as improve your glucose levels. So I think I think are all trying to say the same thing is it has to be sustainable and simple. to follow and not put a load on anybody. Like all these fancy diets, I know somebody was doing a ketogenic diet and he was getting up at 4 in the morning because the wife refused to do anything for him. And he used to cook and then, go to work. It becomes very, very difficult to follow. And, I think it is not sustainable, honestly. And with simple apna Indian khana, we can achieve, we can get into the normal stage. I think people have this whole fear about food and we have to remove that. I think we have to bring back the joy of eating in people's lives. I think that is the most important thing. People have the fear for food. And typically when they come to our clinic, they'll have 2 vada paos, 2 samosas, or go for a buffet a previous day and then come. Because they feel abhi ye apna khana pina band karne wali hai. So that is the, notion that people have.
So rightly said, ma'am, you have to keep the joy while eating. Nowadays, the lifestyle has changed that we are so tense eating. Even for ourselves, we are so diet conscious, rightly said. We also are so conscious while eating things. So I would love, it's already 1 hour has gone. So I would like all of you experts to give us some expert comments in 2 lines so that we can end up the session. Dr. Ameya, sir, please.
Yeah. Most important thing is yesterday was Janmashtami, and if you critically look at who was Bhagwan Krishna, he was a Sarathi or a guide who guided the right person to a right destination. There was a gentleman named Shalya who was a Sarathi of Karna. Karna chose him on the last day of the fight. Chalo, now you become my Sarathi, you are also competent. And he was a very, very competent Sarathi also. So here lies the importance of having a right qualified mentor and guide who can guide you through all the information jungle. So choose an endocrinologist when you get a pre-diabetes. When you are pre-diabetic, don't go to Google, don't go to all those sort of information which is haywire. Choose an endocrinologist and choose a qualified dietitian. There are many who claim to be a dietitian. Look at the credentials of your doctor and take a right guidance.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Ajitesh, sir, your comments, sir, please.
Yes, so I think one area we should concentrate that evening snack. At that time, particularly, we used to take some extra amount of fat. So it is our advice to all the viewers that whenever we want to take snacks, take some fruits or take some extra vegetables with the snack. You can have some snacks, but you have to take something so that your satiety will be fine and you should not take extra amount of snack. And another point is don't take processed food. It is actually extremely notorious. So processed food is not a good idea at all. So homemade food is fine, as Ms. Saril already told about that. And yes, food is a very amusing substance, so you have to enjoy food, but definitely quantity and quality both should be taken care of.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sharon, ma'am, your take, comments.
I think everybody summarized everything. I think for parents, especially because like we're seeing a lot of children today, with pre-diabetes, obesity, and honestly, in the last 2 years, I think I've seen more children. And very important is plan a menu with the family. I think this is the most important thing, and keep your child involved in that. One is because I think the biggest, I'm sure women will agree with me. It's not cooking which is a problem. It's what to cook every day which is the biggest problem. And the cook calling us up and asking us that is always a challenge. What to cook. So plan a menu so that you know what is there. The ingredients are there, so then you're not ordering from outside, and make the menu look interesting. I think we add more color on your plate because we eat with our eyes. The food has to look appealing. If everything is yellow in the plate, it looks jaundiced. किसी को मन नहीं करेगा खाने का. And add variety. I think there is so much of variety, that is there. And there's so many recipes which are available. So try and, do that because then people enjoy eating it. It doesn't seem like diet food. So that is, my message to everybody is that spend that weekend, 1 hour planning the menu with your children, and everybody in the house eats the same food. There is no separate food cooked for anybody. And that way the entire family will, live healthily. And I think very important is physical activity, because that is something that we're seeing is not really being done. So move the hip and zip the lip is, I think, the answer to all the problems. And we will definitely be able to bring pre-diabetes into remission or reverse prediabetes.
I think Dr. Ashok is not there. So anyhow, comes the end time of this beautiful session. It would be great if we have been discussing a lot about this. So in the end, I would thank all our experts who have given their plenty of time explaining the important things. So I would like to summarize here for our viewers. So first of all, whether you have pre-diabetes or not, if you are obese, so this session is for you. People also, all of you who are obese, who are pre-diabetic or diabetic, take care of your food. The nutritional guidelines which have been given to you today, just follow them or consult a dietitian or endocrinologist or clinician to have a mark on your diet. So on the behalf of Endocrine Society of India, I would thank all of you for your patient listening. Very good evening and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.